Hi there, it's Lisa from Bountiful Gardens. Today I am at a house that I decorated for fall and I'm changing it out. We're going to do our Christmas thing. We're going to put the wreaths on the door. I'm going to pull out all her old plants out of her planter and put in new Christmas arrangement, make the house look festive. We're going to put garland, we're going to put lights, and I'm going to show you just how easy we can go from fall to the holiday season with Bountiful Gardens, and we can do this for you as well. The customer picked burgundy. That's her color, and sometimes we do everything in red, sometimes we do everything in gold, and we match the ribbon based on whatever colors they like to use. And this particular client does all her decor in burgundy, so that's what we did. And this wreath right here is a Bountiful Gardens original that we make ourselves. It's Fraser fir, boxwood, white pine, cedar, red huck, all made locally. And if it's straight, then we're good. Okay, because I'm doing cut greens in here, I'm trying to salvage the dirt, because the greens that I'll put in, I'll just be cutting and putting them in there. So because this planter still has some really good stuff in here, I'm going to utilize this winter cabbage and this winter cabbage as well. This one's actually kale and this is cabbage, but this will stay all the way till the end of February, just as long as the greens. So because I think it's really pretty and it's going to make something really original and it'll look like winter and be festive, I'm going to keep them in there instead of throwing them away. When I start with my pine, I look for my straightest piece to be the center piece. So I'm going to do that. And you look at which way the branches are going and you'll put them in so that they go the direction you want for the arrangement instead of trying to make them do something else. So now that I have my centerpiece filled with pine, I'm going to fill in with other branches like Fraser fir. So with these Fraser branches, they tend to go crazy, all different directions, just like the pine does. So what I do is I hold it up and I see, all right, it's going to the left like that. So I'll snip it back And then I figure out, well, which branch do I want to go that direction and which way? Because I obviously want the planter to go outwards all the way around going. So I just place it in the way that I would want it to naturally go. So this piece, it makes sense for it to be back here because that's what I did with this one. I'll do it that way and I'll just continue that way all the way around so it has a nice effect on the lower end. I do love Fraser for that. It really tends to be wispy enough to do the bottom of the planter, so I recommend that. And then so with the side pieces, I don't waste them. There's a lot of smaller pieces and those will go in behind it as filler popping out in the same direction. So I pick my longest ones first so that they kind of hang over the edge. And so I always look at it, I analyze it, and then I put it in to where I think it's going to make a really big statement. I always hold up every branch and look at it to see where I should be cutting. So this one would be, I wouldn't want to keep this all. A lot of mistakes people make is they buy the branches and they just shove them in however they were cut. Nope, that's not what you're supposed to do. That's not what a florist does. You take it from there and then you cut it as you need it to the size you need it. So you can always tell when someone doesn't really know what they're doing by their planter if all the branches are really tall and crazy looking because they didn't bother to cut them all down individually and analyze the pieces. It doesn't take long and it makes such a big difference on the shape of the planter and how it looks. And it's very easy to do if you just take a minute. This is something I can do in my sleep, I think, at this point. But yet, it looks so hard, and it's not. It's so easy. And at Bountiful Gardens, all 3 locations, you can buy all of these branches. We sell bundles of white pine, bundles of Fraser, bundles of cedar, magnolia, everything you'll see in this arrangement you can get if you get inspired to do it yourself. So what I have now to add is cedar that'll go along the bottom for a different texture. This one's really pretty. It has these little yellow matchsticks on the ends. So it really makes a visual interest, just like this huck does. This is called red huck, and it has like a small leaf to give a different texture than just using all evergreen needles and branches. This has that broadleaf that looks sort of like boxwood, but it has pretty red stems, has a lot of reddish tint to it, which makes the planter really visually interesting. As anyone who's followed these videos knows, I love talking about texture. So just tucking in different texture is always recommended. And so then the cedar is a hard one to always get to do what you want to do. And I usually try to figure out how I can get the most out of it without wasting too much with all the little side shoots. So I usually go about half. So I'm gonna take this, the longer half, the end of it always has the prettiest matchsticks on the bottom. So I'll definitely use that in the front so that people can see those. And then this, I don't want to waste it because if you put it a certain way, you won't be able to tell it was cut, and yet it'll hang down and add more texture. So I usually tuck it in a way that you just can't see the cuts. You don't want to see the ends of the cut branches, that's for sure. You have to kind of hide those. This one though is just one piece, so I'll just shove that in right in front. And then you just figure out how much of this planter will be seen so that you're not wasting a bunch of branches behind where no one's going to see it anyway. But you can see it from the windows, so I have to take that into consideration, that someone might like to look out from the house and see how pretty it is. So I'm getting close to being done. Now I have to add the color and some pine cones. So here I have my winterberry color that's going to give me all that pretty Christmassy red. And then I'm also analyzing which branches do I leave whole and cut down. And so I don't like the shape of this, the way it's naturally going. So I'm going to make 2 out of it so that I can get it to go the direction I want it to go into, which would be facing out forward. And so I'm going to put them all in at an angle facing outwards. Okay, so now I have a few accessories, which would be to add a little more texture to this planter. This is called Southern Magnolia. It comes from the south, gives these beautiful big leaves, which are very interesting, and yet it doesn't freeze. It dries well, so it gives that warm, has the suede back to it, which is really cool. And I just love the interesting leaf shape, which is very different than everything else in here for that texture that we always recommend for planters. And hopefully you're noticing how the planter is evolving with all the different additions. It was pretty before, but it keeps getting prettier with everything we keep adding. Then I see I have to fill in as I analyze the planter. So I will bring over some more greens. Actually introduce another type of fir to make it even more visually interesting. I will bring in some Douglas fir. The other fir was Fraser, that bluish color. This Douglas is what's in the garland behind us. This is the same type of fir. We're using cedar and Douglas, so I like to have cedar and Douglas in this planter so it all coordinates well. Now these tend to be a lot fuller, bushier, so this is a great filler branch to put inside where it looks a little empty. So I'm gonna actually have to squeeze it in there. So I'm analyzing my pockets. Here I have a very small pocket, so I picked my tiniest branch. This is all thought out. Not too thought out, but a little bit. You can overthink it, I guess, and stare at the planter forever, which I wouldn't recommend because it's usually cold, although today is a gorgeous day. And I am almost done. So I have my pine cones to make it look very winter wonderland. These are from Washington State, where they grow huge pine cones from those very old evergreens. And so these are called sugar cones, which we always have in stock because if you notice, our wreaths have lots of big sugar cones on them and our arrangements. And so this one is done. I will add a third pine cone for people that will see it from this side. And now I have to go do the other one to match it. So my planters are done. I think they look good. I think they're matching. I think we just went from fall to Christmas really quickly. I have a guy here, my helper, he's putting on the garland. We're gonna do it above both doorways with lights, and then we're gonna have our 2 wreaths, our 2 urns matching, and be done. It's that fast and that easy to do.